So the typical client that would come to you, they would come in, how long would it take? What would the process be? What should they expect when they come in?
Well, I always tell people to count on an hour and a half for a first visit because we have so much information to cover with the camera. You know, there's just a lot to tell them about themselves. But after that, sessions are an hour. And how a session looks is they come in, I'll take a photograph, energy photo of them, discuss it with them, tell them what I see and what's going on. And part of it also relies on the client's feedback. Because in this work, we're really looking at systems. Like if their liver meridian is off, I wouldn't know if they have if they drank too much wine last night or if they've got hepatitis C. What I can tell them is there's a disturbance in their liver meridian.
Okay. So they really need to be as clean as possible. Like, don't go out on a drinking binge the night before they come in and get a first treatment, you know?
That would be helpful.
Okay. Well, I mean,
yeah.
It's
yes.
fair.
Yeah, and I would tell them that. I mean, I would tell them what was going on, and then they'd fess up or not, you know?
Right. I get it.
Yeah, so I take a look at their picture, give them some information, and then I will do a treatment on them, and then take another picture because the energy shifts. It always does. And then I can show them, okay, so this energy has moved, and now this is where we need to go next to work.
Okay, I get it. So, what's the average that a person comes to see you? You know, they come for an initial consultation, and I'm assuming that most people who come to you have some sort of physical issue.
Actually, they don't. Some people come just because they're curious. They've heard about it.
Like a checkup. I get that.
Yeah.
Sort of like a body scan checkup.
Well, some come almost like an astrological reading because these photos say so much about a person that they're real curious about it.
Well, I'm curious now. I got to come get this done.
I mean, everybody wants to know what happened in the womb, don't they?
Exactly. Well, I don't know. Maybe we're better off not knowing. But I love the concept of this, and I can see where this would be so beneficial for people, and for a couple of reasons. One, they don't really have to get involved with the physical, or the emotional.
That's true.
It's just information. Now, do you find that sometimes people do get emotional when you start talking to them about what you're seeing?
Actually, when they get emotional sometimes when I'm doing the work on them, because colorpuncture is designed to bring up old information and release it.
Okay.
And I always tell everyone that comes in, once you leave, especially after your first session, pay attention to how you're feeling, what you're dreaming. If you have any reactions, I invite them to please call me. And they say, well, what kind of reaction? And the answer is anything that wasn't happening before you came in here.
Right, because you don't want to plant seeds with people either.
Yeah. And so how often a person comes to see me depends on why they came. I've got some people that have been seeing me for 8 years. They're very chronically ill, and they're now on a wellness path, and they want to stay there. I have people that come and see me when they have a cold, and, 2 treatments and they'll leave. I have people that have migraines that have spent years working on them. And depending on which kind of a migraine it is, usually to break the pattern is 3 or 4 visits, and then that's it. They're done.
Wow.
So it just depends
That's
on
huge,
why they come.
Because migraines can be just really debilitating from what I understand.
They can. I had one young girl that, when she'd get a migraine, she was on her way to the emergency room. Mm-hmm. So, and I do tell people colorpuncture doesn't cure everything. If you break your arm, you need to call 911.
Yeah. I get that.
Yeah.
Okay. So people come in and you said you do the treatment, and I want to make sure I understand this. If I'm understanding what I've heard so far, people come in, you take the pictures first, and do they fill out any kind of questionnaire?
Absolutely. I have some forms that they fill out and acknowledge that I'm not a medical doctor or psychotherapist, and take a little history, but I don't read their history until I've looked at their photo.
Okay, good. I think it kind of got the blank canvas that way.
Yes.
So then you look at the fingers first and then the feet, or?
Well, they're actually, the way the machine's set up, everything is on one page.
Oh, okay. So you get the whole picture right
you
there.
You get the whole picture, yes. And we kind of look at it from what we call a billboard view, because everyone has their own individual energy pattern. It's kind of, I tell people, it's like looking at the ocean. You know, you see the waves, and if you're standing with a camera right in front of one wave and you keep clicking it, as the wave moves, the photo changes. But if you back up far enough, you begin to see the pattern of the wave.
Right. Okay. Makes perfect sense.
So everyone has their own pattern. So first of all, we assess what kind of pattern they have, because there's 3 different basic ones. And then as, I look into their history of where... I always look backwards to see where the first thing happened. Where is it that we really need to go to begin to unlock this combination? And so we sort of knock on that door. I do a little work, take another picture, and see where it shifted. And it's not just what's moved. What I'm really looking at is what hasn't changed. Because what hasn't changed, that's the block. That's the conflict.
Gotcha. Oh, that makes perfect sense. So when you look at this billboard, and I love that terminology, I'm assuming, since you've been doing this for a while, that oftentimes things just jump out at you, that you go directly to whatever's jumping out at you. Does
Absolutely.
that happen? Yeah.
Yes, that does happen.
Yeah, I do that with hands. When I look at people's hands, it's like something just grabs me and says, focus here. So I can see where this would be the case with what you do as well. Very interesting.
Yeah, that is true. One of the things that's very important in this work is the discrepancy between how the hands look and how the feet look, because the hands are really about the upper half of the body and the feet more about the lower half. And in colorpuncture, we have something called the belly brain.
Okay, then.
There you go. And most people hold their breath a lot. They don't really breathe down into their diaphragm. And you can tell that immediately in a picture. And what happens is science has actually discovered that we really have a brain in our belly. When the egg and the sperm meet and the cells divide, and one goes to be a liver and one goes to be a brain, some of the brain cells migrate down to the stomach. And the stomach...
I've never heard that.
Okay, well, this is new.
This is new.
All new.
You're hearing it hot off the presses.
This
right
is
here.
consciousness radio. Here we go.
Exactly. Got me curious.
So some of the cells migrate down to the gut, and those cells send more information up to the head than the head sends to the stomach. And that's why so many people nowadays have stomach issues. You hear about it all the time, different things, Crohn's disease and all these things that go on. But I like to tell people, like a cop always said he had this gut feeling.
Yes.
It's a gut thinking.
Okay.
You're really thinking from your gut, because it's part of the bed of your intuition. So when you're disconnected from that, it also blocks your consciousness. So one of our big focuses is to get that belly brain, to get that gut open, so that people can breathe down into their body, and that also helps let the information flow in through their consciousness.
Wow. It's like a totally new concept for me. I mean, it's like, are you thinking with your head or your belly,
Well, actually, most people, if you're in an accident, you have a gut reaction.
Yes, absolutely.
The first impulse, it comes from your gut before it gets to your head. And that's absolute scientific knowledge at this point.
See, I always thought of that as instinct. It's like that fight or flight instinct. And maybe that's part of where that thinking is.
That is part of where it's coming from, yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you can tell if that's functioning well or not?
Oh, absolutely. It's real evident if it's blocked or not.
Okay. And would you say on most people it is?
I would say what I can say is after Hurricane Ike, almost everybody's was blocked. Every person that came in there, the way it presents is that there's very few emissions on the feet.
Interesting.
And, yeah, it's like you're not grounded. I think that would be a good word for it, just not being grounded.
Right. That's interesting, because I do, and you're familiar with the chakras, right?
Absolutely.
I do a lot of chakra clearing work. And I've noticed that in the last few months, a lot of people have their crown chakras open, but everything below the crown chakra closed. It's almost like they're not grounded.
Yeah.
Like everything's staying up here and not getting into the physical world. So who knows? Maybe with all the shifts that are going on now, we're going to see a change in that.
Well, when I see people, of course, most people don't have tools, so they can't go home and do treatments on themselves. Mm-hmm. But so many people aren't breathing into the diaphragm that I give them a little exercise to do to help open that up, because one of the effects of it is that it causes them not to sleep well.
That makes sense. Can you describe the exercise?
Yes, I can.
Yes, sure.
And it's a perfect time of year for it, too. It's called yogic laughter, and it's the Santa Claus laugh. If you put your hand on your stomach and you go, ho, ho, ho.
Ho, ho, ho.
Can you feel that down there in your diaphragm? Yes, you can. So I just tell them that every morning you wake up, look in the mirror, and do about 20 seconds of ho, ho, ho's, and that'll get your energy flowing.
I love that. I love that. And, actually it puts you in a good mood, too, I would
Absolutely, it does.
Okay, I love simple things.
Yeah, that's really real simple.
It's like I tell people to do the thymus thump, just kind of thump yourself here, get that thymus moving,
Yeah, my husband does that in the shower every morning.
It's like Tarzan,
Exactly.
You want to get your strength back, thump that thymus, make some noise while you're at it.
So if you're not feeling grounded, just look in the mirror and start ho-ho-hoing.
There you go. And thump yourself a couple of times.
Thump yourself a couple of times. That'd be great.
Yeah. I'm liking this better all the time, Kay. I love the concept. All right, so